The best center from every single NHL team so far this season, not based on prior career accolades, not based on potential or anything like that, strictly based off of their plays so far in the 2019-20 season. You guys know I love to do the one from every team videos, and we're going to be doing that today, but it's going to be a little bit different. Instead of just going over every single NHL team and picking out who I think has been their best centerman so far, we're going to do that, but we're going to also rank them from number 31 all the way up until number 1. And as always, if you guys are new around here and have not already, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Kicking the video off, the number 31 spot goes to the New Jersey Devils and Nico Hischier. And just because he's at the number 31 spot doesn't mean he's a bad player by any means. Obviously still super young, only 20 years old, and has a ton of potential to be a very good player. And he already is a really solid centerman, but the New Jersey Devils team in general is kind of just having a down year, and Hischier isn't really playing the greatest either, so he gets the number 31 spot. For the number 30 spot, I have Matt Duchene of the Nashville Predators, and they signed him to a lot of money this offseason, and his play so far this season has definitely been a little bit underwhelming. He got off to a relatively good start to the season, but has definitely cooled down since then and only has 21 points so far in 30 games, and Nashville as a team has kind of just been really underwhelming too. Matt Duchene definitely has to step it up considering he makes so much money per season. At the number 29 spot, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Now, obviously Columbus lost a lot of talent this offseason, and heading into this year, Dubois was given the tall task of being their number 1 guy on offense. And so far this season, I think he's done a relatively good job, as he has 10 goals and 10 assists for 20 points through the first 32 games of the season for Columbus. Next up, at the number 28 spot, I have Dylan Strome of the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, Jonathan Toews, I think, is their best center, but remember, this is just based off of this season, and Toews got off to a really slow start, so that's kind of why I have Strome over him. And even though Strome's at number 28, he's still not having a bad year, as he does have 22 points through the first 29 games of the season, and I'm sure he's only going to continue to get better for Chicago. Next up at number 27, I have Nick Schmaltz of the Arizona Coyotes, coming one spot after Dylan Strome of the Blackhawks. I feel like these guys are going to be tied together for a very long time in their careers. And honestly, I've said this on the channel before, I think that trade has really benefited both teams in the long run. And so far this season, Nick Schmaltz is having a really good year with 23 points in 35 games and is a pretty big part of a very good Arizona team. At the number 26 spot, I have the Detroit Red Wings and centerman Dylan Larkin. And me as a Red Wings fan, I wanted to put him higher on this list, but honestly couldn't really justify it. He's having a bit of a down year compared to his offensive numbers last year, but I do think his complete game is the best I've ever seen it. He's become a very good defensive centerman, but even with all that being said, he hasn't really been better than the other centers I'm going to talk about in this video, so he gets number 26. Moving on now to number 25, I have the Minnesota Wild and Eric Staal. He has really turned it up of late, and Minnesota, how about them? They're playing very well lately and are finding themselves very close to a playoff spot. The West is wide open right now, and they're definitely making it pretty interesting, and Eric Staal is having a really good season, so he gets number 25 for me. At the number 24 spot, I have the Calgary Flames and Sean Monahan. Now, if this wasn't just based off of this season, he'd be a lot higher on the list, but he's not really having the greatest year, at least compared to last season. Lately, Calgary has really turned it on though after the firing of Bill Peters, and I'm sure Monahan is only going to continue to get better as the season goes along, but for right now, Monahan gets number 24. Next up at the number 23 spot, I have Ryan Getzlaf of the Anaheim Ducks. And sure, Anaheim isn't really having the greatest year as a team, but Ryan Getzlaf is actually playing very well. In 33 games so far this season, he has 10 goals and 15 assists for 25 points, and he's 34 years old, and I'm sure many people thought he was going to drop off heading into this season, but that hasn't really been the case. Moving on now to the 22 spot, I have the Ottawa Senators and Jean-Gabriel Pageau, who is having an amazing season for his standards. In 33 games, Pageau already has 16 goals, which is just 3 off of a career high, and 8 assists for 24 points. He has been a big bright spot for Ottawa this season, and I'm really interested to see what happens with him moving forward. At the number 21 spot, I have the Montreal Canadiens and Phillip Danault. Now, a lot of people are probably going to say I should have Max Domi here for Montreal, but in my opinion, this season at least, Danault has been the better player. He's playing in a number 1 center role for the Montreal Canadiens and is doing a great job putting up good offensive numbers, and he's a great two-way player as well. And then for the number 20 spot, I have the Dallas Stars and Tyler-Seguin. And again, just based off of this season, if it wasn't, he probably would have been a little bit higher, but he got off to a really bad start to the year, but the whole Dallas Stars team pretty much did. But since then, they have been very good. They're like a top seed in the West now, and he's been a pretty big part of that turnaround. At the number 19 spot, I have the Philadelphia Flyers and Sean Couturier, and by now everybody should know that Claude Giroux is for the most part a winger, so that classifies Couturier as their best centerman. I've said it on the channel many times, I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league, an amazing two-way player, and his offense seems continues to get better every single year, so he gets number 19 for me. For the number 18 spot, I have the Vegas Golden Knights and William Karlsson, who's actually having a really strong season. 10 goals, 17 assists for 27 points in 35 games, and everybody knows how good of a two-way player he is. He's having a much bigger impact on the team's success than he did last year, where it was kind of a down season for him compared to 2017-18. So yeah, he's been really good. I got him at 18. Next up at number 17, I have the Los Angeles Kings and centerman Anze Kopitar, and coming off of a little bit of a down year last season, he's bounced back and is playing very well. In 34 games, he has 11 goals and 18 assists for 29 points. And yeah, sure, LA is obviously not the greatest team, but it is nice to see him having some individual success after last year. For the number 16 rank, I have Matt Barzal of the New York Islanders, who has been amazing and is really having a massive impact on the Islanders' ability to win games. Yeah, the goaltending and defense has been great, but he's really been carrying a lot of the load offensively, and it's just super impressive how good of a player he is, and he's still only 22. 27 points in 31 games and a plus 14. He's having an excellent year. Number 15 goes to the Carolina Hurricanes and Sebastian Aho, who has really picked it up offensively after he had a little bit of a slow start putting up numbers. He's got 30 points now through the first 33 games of the season, and obviously Carolina is having a great year, and his success is really helping the team along with guys like Teravainen and Svechnikov. Number 14 goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning and Steven Stamkos. Yeah, he's over a point per game with 29 points in 28 games, but you kind of expect that from a lot of their big guns on offense. His play so far this season hasn't been outstanding. It's kind of just what we've came to expect from Steven Stamkos, and honestly expect a little bit more, but he's still been pretty good, so I got him at 14. Next up, ranked 13th, I have the San Jose Sharks and Logan Couture, who's actually having a really good season offensively. He's never had a year where he's been up around a point per game, but I think that could change this season. He's got 32 points so far in 35 games, and he's obviously an excellent leader for that team, and a guy you definitely want on your side come playoff time. Moving on to number 12, I have Ryan O'Reilly of the St. Louis Blues. He really broke out, and people recognized him as one of the best centermen in the NHL after his awesome playoff run with the St. Louis Blues last year, and he picked up right where he left off. He's got 29 points in 34 games, but with Ryan O'Reilly, everybody knows it's much more than just the offense. He's a really good all-around player and a great leader too. St. Louis is having a great season as well, so that helps his case to be in the top 12. At number 11, we have the New York Rangers and Mika Zibanejad. Now, I almost went with Ryan Strome as their best centerman so far this season just because Mika Zibanejad did miss a good chunk of time, but he honestly was one of the best players in the NHL before he got injured, so I'm kind of just ranking him on where I probably would have put him had he not gotten hurt. At number 10, I have the Washington Capitals and Evgeny Kuznetsov, who has really been thriving this season along with many other players on one of the best teams in the league. So far this season in 31 games, Kuznetsov has 12 goals and 20 assists for 32 points, a +6 rating, and in my opinion has 100% been one of the most elite centermen in the league this year, so that's why I have him in the top 10. For rank number 9, I have the Vancouver Canucks and Elias Pettersson. I mean, 21 years old, and the guy is already one of the best players in the NHL. He has such a big impact on the Vancouver Canucks' success, and if they make it into playoffs this year, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Pettersson has his name thrown around in Hart Trophy conversations a little bit. Rank number 8 goes to Matthews of the Toronto Maple Leafs. 34 games played for Matthews, 34 points, and yeah, that's good, but it feels like he still kind of leaves us wanting more from him sometimes. It seems like some nights he'll come out and is by far and away the best player on the ice, and then other games he's kind of invisible, so if he can find some consistency, he'll definitely be one of the best players in the league. Next up at number 7, we have Mark Scheifele of the Winnipeg Jets, one of the most consistent players in the NHL. It seems like you can always rely on him to be like above or around a point per game, and so far this season it's been no different as he has 32 points through the first 32 games of the season and has a +4 rating. I've said it on the channel many times, it's super impressive what Winnipeg has been able to do this season considering everything they lost this summer. The number 6 spot goes to Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins. Sure, he has missed a couple of games this season due to injury, but when he is on the ice and healthy, he is by far and away one of the best centermen in the league. 25 games played so far this season for Bergeron, 10 goals and 17 assists for 27 points, and everybody knows how good of a defensive centerman he is as well. He's 34 years old. You'd think he would slow down soon, but the dude is just aging like fine wine. The number 5 spot goes to Gino of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and yes, I know Sidney Crosby is the best centerman on that team, but remember, it's just based off of this season, and Malkin has played more games. Crosby missed a good amount of time with injury, and the games that Malkin has played in, he has been one of the best players in the entire NHL. 27 points so far this season in 20 games, and is a massive reason why the Penguins are such a good team this season. Next up at number 4, we have Alexander Barkov of the Florida Panthers, and last season he solidified himself as one of the best centermen in the league, and this year he picked up right where he left off. 32 games games for Barkov so far this season, 10 goals and 26 assists for 36 points. Barkov is not underrated anymore by any means. He's simply one of the best players in the NHL. Next up at number 3, we have the Buffalo Sabres and Jack Eichel, and honestly, I think out of anyone in the league so far this season, Eichel has impressed me the most. He's taken that superstar leap that everyone really expected him to, and this season he's been one of the best players in the league and a massive reason why Buffalo's playing very well lately. He's on a crazy point streak, he's just been a monster lately, and I really hope he keeps this up. Number 2, shouldn't really be a surprise here, I have Nathan MacKinnon of the Colorado Avalanche. 32 games played for MacKinnon, already 20 goals and 30 assists for 50 points. He's definitely one of the best players in the NHL, and he's been doing this for the most part this season without Rantanen and Landeskog, which makes it all that much more impressive. And now that the team is really getting healthy, watch out because they're going to be dangerous. And now to finish out the video, at the number 1 spot, shouldn't be a big surprise here, it's got to be McDavid. You could make an argument that this should be Draisaitl, but in my opinion, McDavid is the best player on the planet. 57 points already in 35 games, just ridiculous numbers, and like I've said before, the biggest difference from this season to last is they're actually a good team and they're winning games. So that is going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did disagree with any of my rankings, make sure to let me know what your list would look like down in the comment section below. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like on it and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I will see you guys on tomorrow's video.